Thank you very much, David. I would like to present the first closing statement speaker for the negative, Travis McKenna.
Hey, so I think we've heard a lot spoken about atheism, I guess, and the lack of X, Y, Z present in atheism, and some bafflement as to why this wasn't dealt with in our remarks. To which I simply point to the topic of conversation, which is, are the teachings of the Catholic Church valuable in the 21st century? Which, if I may excuse myself, explains why I had so little time to talk about so many things. Because what we were here to discuss is the Catholic Church. But if I am pressed, I will deal with the question. Objectivity is a very touchy subject and something with which the Catholic Church are evidently obsessed. It is very, very circular, the way that our opponents define objectivity. For example, when looking at the objective way that a human life holds more value than for example, the life of a rat or a mouse, the objectivity to which they are referring is one, as Jason said, applies in any place, in any time, in any context. So in Mars, 400,000 years ago, is a human life more valuable than a rat? Well, human life didn't exist then as we know it. Is the life of a Homo sapien more or less valuable than the life of a Homo sapien sapien? Us. It's such an absurdly homocentric and arrogant claim of truth in such a vast and incomprehensible universe to claim that we know that on one Earth, where we exist, for a blip of a second on a universal scale, there are objective truths that apply in any time and place which rank us above an animal that has existed in its current form for 4 or 5 times as long as we have. That is our problem with objective morality, and why I'm not at all surprised that on the point of objectivity, both sides have been talking past each other all night. And precisely why we're not here to discuss atheism's view on objective morality, but rather the teachings of the Catholic Church, which, as Patrick and I have we think, laid a case for, are grounded in many concepts that run contrary to some of the core values of our society, and some of the core things that we find most dignified, beautiful, and healthy in human beings. I don't suppose if I haven't convinced you of that, I would already, so I might dignifiedly step down from the podium at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Travis. And now the final closing speaker for the affirmative, Jason. Oh, I'm so bad with that name, I apologize. Jason Savala.
The name's Portuguese, don't worry, we have trouble pronouncing our own names. I'd like to thank everyone for coming along. This has been, I hope it's been as much fun for you guys in the audience as it has been for me up here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm what's known as a lay Dominican. My spiritual father was St. Domingo de Guzman, who basically discovered his life's mission arguing about religion in a bar. So this feels like home to me, and this is the second one that we've done. Travis and I both spoke in the last one, and please God, there will be many more. And I mean, do please God. But the reason we focused on the approach that we've taken tonight is because, well, as Travis quite rightly points out, there are an awful lot of teachings of the Catholic Church, and covering all of them in the amount of time allotted us would have been a little bit difficult. But what I want to fundamentally suggest is that if the reason we focused on the teachings we have is that I fundamentally suggest to you that if the atheist worldview is true, then very simply the terms like valuable really don't have a lot of meaning. And Travis attempted to suggest that he made the distinction, if I understood it correctly, between value and meaning. and argued that we can get a concept of value by getting together as a society, deciding what we as a society want, and then we can judge value against that standard. I think that's fundamentally flawed for a whole bunch of reasons. Firstly, in a society, we don't all want the same things. That's a simple and rather obvious fact. But more fundamentally than that, if you're going to set up what a given society wants as the standard of value, firstly it means there is no outside standard by which what a society chooses can be criticised. If all of 18th century England decide that as a society they want to colonise Africa, sell the natives into slavery, there's not a lot you can say about that. That is what their society and culture wants. Therefore, that value is whatever tends towards that. There's no outside point of that. One of the things that David mentioned in his first speech that Patrick took up and said he agreed with is that there has been this thing throughout history called moral progress. But in a fundamental sense, moral progress comes about because a minority, sometimes to begin with a very small minority, points to what society as a whole has agreed to value, has decided it wants, and said, hey, this is wrong. That's how slavery was abolished. To begin with, tiny minorities saying, hey, what we as a society have agreed is important is wrong. Why is that possible? It's possible, my friends, because there is this thing called objective morality. And as I think pretty much, and as David has argued, that objective morality comes not, and this is our answer to the urethra dilemma, not simply because God has issued arbitrary commands, but because God has a specific nature, and He has created us with a specific nature, and that specific nature has a point and a purpose. And it is within that point and purpose that the Catholic Church argues that all the teachings of the Catholic Church find their basis, find their point. And it is that specific point and purpose that the Catholic Church seeks to bring humanity towards. So a final note, I once again thank everyone. As the classic words of the entertainer, you've been a great audience. But I want to suggest to our atheist friends here, there is